my God. Bronson Reed, Cody Rhodes, but Bronson Reed, after being gone since what, after War Games, is back, and he is back in a big, big, big way. Guys, I just finished watching Saturday night's main event, and I gotta say, um, two moments tonight, but more specifically, this moment definitely had to be the most surprising moment of the night for me. Bronson Reed makes his return in the opener. It starts off with CM Punk teaming up with Sami Zayn against, they had previously teamed together during War Games, but this was like the first time teaming together in a tag team match against Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker. This was like their first match as a team. Pretty decent match. Exactly what you would expect. It didn't get too much time. I think maybe about 10 minutes at max. They had about two commercial breaks, so about 10 minutes, something like that. I could be wrong, but uh, the match was what you would expect. Both teams were, doing their thing. Sammy at one point hit his dive on Braun Breaker from outside of the ring. Braun actually did this sick dive on Sami Zayn outside of the ring onto the announce table. CM Punk was looking really good when he got the hot tag in the beginning. He actually busted out. It looked almost like a code red or sunset flip. He busted out on CM Punk, which I thought was really sick, especially at this point for Punk to hit that move. And then he busted out his signature moves on Rollins and Braun Breaker. And so at one point in the match, Paul Heyman's trying to just like pull the leg of Sami Zayn, and the ref sees it. And, just as it looked like he's going to try to eject Paul Heyman out the ring, here comes Braun Breaker. He attacks CM Punk outside the ring, and then he essentially helps Braun Breaker, who beats Sami Zayn with a spear. He helps them beat uh, Sami Zayn and and CM Punk. And what was interesting about it was that when he first after he did it, he stared at Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker looked at him like they were going to fight. And if you remember, what's interesting about this alliance is the feud that he had with Seth Rollins last year with those, what was it, 10 tsunamis, 20 tsunamis. I think it was 10, but it might have been more than that. Somebody can correct me with that, but I know it was a lot of them. I want to say it was 10 because he kept doing it constantly, and that was the Raw that pretty much made Bronson Reed a star. Like that was the Raw that made him a star because he's supposed to be the heel, but yet the crowd kept chanting one more time, and that was pretty much the Raw. Because at that time, Raw was still 3 hours before they went back to 2 hours, and that was just a huge moment. Um, I gotta see exactly what Raw that was on, but I think it was around July, August of last summer um, when that happened. And so fast forward, they had a match, I believe, at Crown Jewel. Seth Rollins actually won that match. They had another match after that Bronson Reed won. So Seth Rollins already knows what Bronson Reed is all about, and so they stare each other down, and Steph just hugs him, and he officially joins this faction that does not have a name yet and hasn't had a name since Braun and him joined forces the night after WrestleMania, which was an excellent Raw, by the way, that I wish I could have did a video of, but just didn't have the time. But man, this is going to be a monster heel team. I mean, you got Braun Breaker, who's got the speed. He's got all the full package. He's got the speed. He's got the the athleticism. He's got the power as well. And then you got Bronson Reed, who's just got that power. And putting these guys together as a trio, especially when they were like these reports that they really weren't going to add like another member to this group, but the fact that and as much as I like Sami Zayn and CM Punk because the crowd was it's crazy because I think Seth Rollins needs to go back to the theme he was using during the pandemic as the Messiah because by him using the same theme even as a heel, the crowd's always chanting it, and it's like you know you're supposed to be the heel, but yet the crowd is still chanting your theme. And Braun Breaker, it doesn't matter if he's a face or a heel. It's just like they're gonna chant for him regardless. It just seems like they're always gonna chant for him. But for Seth, it's like to be this heel, you would think he would, not still have the same theme for the crowd to be singing along to. But then they also sung, of course, when CM Punk came out. So, yeah, just a big, big moment. Braun Breaker comes back. Huge moment. Because, he's been gone for a while. And it looked like they had big things for him, before he got injured. There's no telling what he would have did, but it definitely looked like they had big plans for him. And now he's a part of Seth Rollins' group. The same guy who he feuded with last year, and had that breakout moment where he hit him with all those tsunamis on Raw. Um, it just man, to see these guys, this is going to be a monster team. I mean, this is about as crazy as you get. And I will say this: I don't think Seth needs to win the world title again. I really don't. I feel like Seth has been world champion way too many times. Even with this heel fraction, with him kind of taking him under his wing, I still don't think it's necessary. For Seth, if this is what this is gonna lead, it definitely seems like this is what it's gonna lead to. But I personally don't think it makes a lot of sense, for Seth to be world champion yet again. I mean, he's been world champion so many times. He was literally the champion up until last year at WrestleMania when he dropped the belt to, Drew McIntyre. So I definitely don't. I think if anything, this should build to, because you want to build towards the future. And Braun Breaker's the future. Bronson Reed's a little bit older. He's not as young as Braun Breaker is, but Braun Breaker's the future. So I would build more towards him being the guy to eventually win the big one. I mean, he's already a two-time IC champion, but yeah, I would build more towards him doing it, but yeah, it's just you know um, this is gonna be huge. This is gonna be a monster team. It should be interesting. That them and Paul Heyman. This is gonna be a team right here. I mean, it doesn't get any bigger than this. I don't even think they need to add anybody else. With just those two, you got a monster team, and and so it should definitely be interesting how this goes moving forward. Because at some point when Roman comes back, you figure he'll team with CM Punk, and he'll get a match with one of those two of those guys. At some point, you figure. So it'll just be interesting to see how that plays out. Perhaps they're saving that for SummerSlam. It does seem like that'll probably be the case. But man, like huge moment. I mean, you did have, and elsewhere in the show, um, just to be kind of brief about it, Sami Zayn, I mean, Selena Vega retained her United States Championship, Women's Championship against Chelsea Green. Um, not, the match was, fine for what it was. It wasn't uh, not too long, but the most notable thing about this match was that Chelsea Green was like busted open in the nose, and I'm not exactly sure what point caused her to bleed like that. But when Selena Vega hit her with the code red, from the top rope, you could see her bleeding. And on the replay, it looked like she was already bleeding before she even hit it. I thought maybe she, got busted after she hit it, but it looked like she was bleeding before then. So that was pretty nasty. And I will say, Chelsea did start the match with a lot of aggression, which was really interesting. So the match was definitely fine for what it was. Selena Vega, even though she got pinned just last night on SmackDown, which was a bit unnecessary. She shouldn't have even been in that triple threat. But you know, like I said, I'm happy for Julie. She qualified for anything. I just think they shouldn't have put Selena in there. But you know, uh, getting her momentum back for losing in that triple threat, retaining her Women's United States Championship pretty, it was fine for what it was, not too much to it. Um, you also had, Cena and our truth, pretty much what you would expect. I will say they did make it entertaining in the beginning, because Cena comes out and then our truth comes out with Cena's music, with dressed up like trying to be like he was the old Cena running into the ring, and Cena just takes him out at the start of the match. And they just pretty much go at it, and then you know, at one point, our truth actually, because he was just getting beat, in the beginning, but then our truth managed to, use Cena's moves, his attitude adjustment against him, his shovels, and then even put him in an STF. But then after that, Cena just, you know, he grabbed the championship like he was gonna hit him. R-Truth got up. He made it seem like he was gonna be revert back to Mo's self, sucker him in, threw the belt to the ref. The ref turned around, and then boom, he just hit him with the low blow like he's been doing since the Elimination Chamber at this point. Like this has just been his finish, literally since that point. And then hit him with the attitude adjustment and won the match. Then he clocked R-Truth again, and I will say, like I was thinking, like man, like this is how you pay this off. You know, I would have thought he would have done a lot more to R-Truth, but he just hit him with the championship and then just walked off. And I was thinking, well, maybe he was just in a bit of a rush to get out of there because they really didn't do as much as you would have thought they would have. But then when the main event happened, then I understood why they didn't have him do too much to R-Truth, because I definitely felt like you know um, it was going to be a more vicious beatdown on R-Truth, but that's not what happened. And as we see in the main event, it makes a lot more sense why that wasn't the case. And so yeah, you had that happen. You had Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest. Pretty solid match. The crowd was chanting. This was awesome. Really good match. Only thing is you would have expected them to get even more crazy than they did. But for what they did do, you know, Drew kicking out of the South of Heaven, Damian kicking out of Claymore, and Drew actually still in Damian's South of Heaven at one point. He brought the chair in the ring before the cage even, before the match even officially started. And these guys are just brawling. And it ends with, Damien hitting the concerto, which Michael Cole referenced to the time when, they kicked Edge out of his own group when he was still in WWE with the Judgment Day, which was really crazy because the group was barely together that long when that happened. Um, when he was kicked out of his own group, and you know, he kicked them out of it, and that was like the first time he did that since they took Edge out. So he hit this concerto to Drew McIntyre to win the match, and he walked out of the cage. So yeah, really, really, I gotta say for two guys that people didn't really have a lot of hype about for the WrestleMania, build or leading up for WrestleMania, they definitely had made it work in all cylinders. So whether or not this is the finally the end of this feud between these guys, I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll do yet another match, even though technically, if you want to be technical, because Damien cashed in on WrestleMania, because he beat Damien at Clash at the Castle, and then he beat him again at WrestleMania this year. These guys are like, you know, Damien beat him at Clash at the Castle. Excuse me, Damien beat him at Clash at the Castle and WrestleMania, and Drew just beat him at WrestleMania. So these guys are like 2-1. No, he's 3-1 on Drew McIntyre because Drew only beat him at WrestleMania. So I mean, how much more can you go at this point with this feud? But I think it's should at this point reach its climax. But it was definitely good. And then the main event, Logan Paul and Jey Uso. Logan, um, say he did what he did. Um, uh, Jay didn't do too much in the beginning, but he got some offense in there. And Cena had an interesting encounter with Jay before the match, basically saying like, you know, Jay Uso um, losing, to Logan Paul. What an interesting concept that would be. It would almost be like, you know, ruining wrestling. And this was really just a foreshadow of Cena getting involved in the main event to try to help Logan Paul win. And I will say this now: Logan Paul, not the biggest fan, but the guy can definitely, he can wrestle. When he can bust out certain moves, he can definitely wrestle. Not the biggest fan of his or anything, but he could definitely wrestle. Um, and this is what you would have expected. I just, I would have hoped for Jay to get a clean win here, especially, considering the fact that technically this was like Jay's second title defense, and he didn't have it didn't end clean. Like the first one with Seth Rollins, like ended in like a DQ or a no contest because CM Punk had got in there and attacked Seth. So yet again, there was shenanigans in this match. But when you think about what happened, then it's like, okay, now it makes sense. Because Cena gets in there, tries to screw Jey Uso, pulling the ref out of the ring when he's about to beat Logan Paul. And then Cody Rhodes come back. So this just leads to a Cody Rhodes return. And he beats Cena and it attacks Cena. Jey Uso retains on Logan Paul. And ultimately, this leads to the tag match that people thought, or were at least afraid, that he would be teaming up with Travis Scott, but but that is not what's going to happen. Instead, he's going to be teaming with Logan Paul against um, Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes. So for the people who were afraid that Cena was going to be teaming up with Travis Scott, well, they don't have to worry about that because unless they still decide to do that down the line before Cena retires later this year, that does not seem to be the direction. It does seem like WrestleMania was pretty much the closed chapter with Travis Scott, but yeah, that's not the case. He's gonna be teaming with Logan Paul, and yeah, that's pretty much Saturday's main event. But yeah, I just wanted to say though, Braun Breaker, man, um, like I said in the beginning, this is gonna be a monster team. Uh, the main event would track my eye of what happened. Um, But I mainly just want to talk about Braun coming back. Just like I said, it's going to be a monster heel team. Um, and I'm looking forward to see, where they kind of go from here because you got to put some gold in these guys at some point. Um, I mean, really, both guys, are good solo. They don't even need to be like together. They're just good on their own. But right now you got Dominic as the Intercontinental Champion, so and he just won the title at WrestleMania. He was technically still a heel, but they're kind of building towards Dominic turning babyface. So, you know, the only ever time and the New Day are heels and they're the tag team champions. So, but yeah, it's it this is gonna be a reckoning team right here. So definitely looking forward to see what they do with that. But that's pretty much it, guys. Saturday night main event in a nutshell. Pretty good. Every match wasn't what it was, but that's pretty much what I've come to expect with Saturday's main event at this point. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. This one is definitely more memorable though, just because not to say the other ones weren't, because the other ones that they did the last, cause this is what like the third one they've done or fourth one. I want to say it's like the third one. Um, I know they did one like right before WrestleMania. They did one before the Rumble, which was the one where Jey Uso went against Gunther in the main event and Gunther retained. That was a really good match for the World Championship. A really good one they did at the Rumble, before the Rumble. And then I want to say, did they do another one? before WrestleMania. So this is probably the third one. Um, I want to say it is because I know when they first brought it back, it was in December, just before you know January. So I think this is the third one, if I'm not mistaken. But they might have did one um, before WrestleMania. I'm just trying to remember. I don't think they did though, but I'm trying to think. Did they? Because the Elimination Chamber was actually the 1st of March. So if they had done one, it would have been like some weeks before you know WrestleMania. So I don't know. I feel like I want to say they did, but then at the same time, I want to say they didn't. I'm not fully sure, but this is either the third or fourth one. But this one, because of like the Bronson return and then this what happened in the main event, it's just thumbs up just for those two things. Well, not so much with the main event, but just So that's pretty much it, guys. Sign off, Raymond's Flex.